Data Pe Charcha show with Smith. I'm truly excited today, excited about all the conversation which we are going to have today with Mr. Aloysius. Aloysius is final year student at Nanyang Technology University and doing his specialization into business analytics. Along with that, he is also active participant on data visualization community projects. And what is really cool about him, he loves to share his learnings with folks via different social media networks like LinkedIn and Twitter. Without further ado, let's welcome Aloysius. Aloysius, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks Sumit for the lovely introduction and also inviting me on the show. Hi everyone, my name is Aloysius. A bit about myself is I actually started daily coding only this year after looking at a challenge that Kate Strategy posted on LinkedIn and on 31st December 2019. So back then I was actually still playing a lot of games, so I wanted to do something more productive because I was playing games about 12 hours a day or something like that. Yeah, so I decided to take up like a challenge to learn something small every day. Yes, and that's how daily coding came about.
And that's how I came to know about you. It's really inspiring to see all your work and your dedication when it comes to the LinkedIn as a platform. So you're using it in very perfect way. Let me ask you one question. So help me to understand a little bit about your background, little bit about what in terms of your education, let's say your country, and something similar to that. So just something about yourself.
Sure. So I'm based in Singapore, and I actually only took up coding about 1 year. Yeah, it's been a year. I was hooked on the book called Data Visualizations with R by Kira something. I need to find the book again, but yes. Okay. I was coding in R for ggplot because back then I still didn't have any idea what specialization I was going to take for my business degree. So after that, I took a Python class with a group of friends, and then I realized actually that coding was something that I actually wanted to do, which then brought me to daily coding. And of course, visualizations was something that I found out after I realized I actually enjoyed making slides and making things pretty and making messages really clear. Okay. So yes. And a little bit about myself is I like to watch a lot of movies and daily data visualizations, I guess.
Wow.
I think inside the data sets is really fun.
Cool. So in this today's session, I would definitely wanted to say, and again request you, maybe you can share something which you have created on Tableau public profile. And as you mentioned that you have also started working on R. So again, we really wanted to see what all things you have created with R. And if I'm not wrong, I have seen your latest entry on Serial. Okay, it was a Makeover Monday project, Tableau project, and if you can share that thing, so again that will be awesome for everyone who is watching the show.
Sure. Let me just share my screen.
Sure.
Hi, can you see it?
Yep, I can see it.
Just make this full screen. All right, so this is the Makeover Monday for week 36 or 37, if I'm not wrong. And the data was from Kaggle, which actually showed the nutritional facts of like 80 different cereals from like 6 to 7 different brands. So there was one brand that was American Home Food Products, which only had one entry, but I took that out because it was a bit of an outlier. Okay. So I only have like 6 brands. So when I first posted the Viz, it actually looks exactly like this without the interactivity. Okay. So I actually got feedback from MMViz Makeover Monday Viz review on Twitter, and they gave me feedback how just because there were so many categorical variables, I didn't need to put all the colors. But the problem was that if there were no colors, it would look a bit dull too. So I actually got feedback that I should have highlighted the different bars instead. So for example, if you wanted to look at general meals, it will be highlighted. Wow, it's loading. But yes, it will be instantly highlighted, and then you can actually like it becomes a lot clearer, even though like
Yep.
the colors are like blurred out.
Mm-hmm.
So the general story outline was cereal was the question of whether cereal was healthy or unhealthy. So for this, I wanted to look at three different factors, which is which brand is the most popular. Then after that, I look at the nutritional values, for example, protein and vitamins and minerals, which are important. And also,
Okay.
lastly, because how cereal has been under attack for having too much sugar in their cereal products,
Okay.
which makes cereal unhealthy. So
Exactly.
I started off with looking at cereal. Like, why are we talking about cereal? Like, why is it about cereal that we should be looking at, other than it being a great comfort food for us in the morning for breakfast? So at first I started looking at the number of cereal products each manufacturer has. But one criticism for this part would be the data set doesn't really say if it contains all the products that each brand has. So it might be just only, they might have much more like products for like the rest of the other brands.
Yep.
So yes. So yeah. Okay, so for example, we can look at Kellogg's, and then we'll see, for example, Kellogg's has like 2.6 grams average, and then I'll compare it to, for example, the dietary reference intake by MBCI is that actually 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for normal human meal, that would be about 50 plus grams, and one serving of Kellogg's doesn't really help that much because it's only 2.83 grams. But granted, there's still some amount of protein that we can get. After that, I looked at the vitamins and minerals of Kellogg's, which is pretty high. It's about 34.78% of your daily intake. So at this point, I would say like, okay, nutrition seems pretty well. Then after that, we'll look at sugar, which is how the story will flow. And we'll look at the average amount of sugar each cereal product in each brand has, and an average overall. So Kellogg's is at 7.565, which is honestly pretty high because the general consensus is that the daily sugar intake should be about 20 to 30 grams for men and women. And also 7.565 grams of sugar is a lot because one can of soda is already about 30 grams of sugar. So unless you avoid sugary drinks, then cereal is definitely okay to have every morning. Then lastly, I look at an overview at all the cereal products that the different brands have and see which cereal actually has the highest amount of sugar, and it is actually Kellogg's Smacks at 15 grams of sugar. So that is around like half of the amount of sugar that we're supposed to take every day. And if you are going to consume that much sugar in the morning, who knows how much sugar you'll consume by the end of the day. So that was how I ended the Viz. And last part would be some tips on how you should have breakfast. Like for example, if you are afraid that you're not getting enough protein, you can have milk, you can eat some fruits. And also before buying any cereal, you can look at the product label behind, see how much ingredients, like for example, how much sugar it has, how much fiber, and all the good stuff. So yeah, that ended it like that. So that's how the cereal Viz came about.
This is awesome. This is really awesome. Especially if you scroll above, and especially from the part where you have just started investigating about sugar part, that's awesome. And I would completely agree with you. Like when it comes to the sugar, we should be little conscious about what we are taking as an intake. It could be any type of meal, but if there is too much of sugar, then that's something which is risky. Not
Yes,
in
that's right.
just short term, but long term, it is not good part. Thank you so much for sharing this thing with us. This is completely awesome. And the best part was like you have received feedback and you have also incorporated that feedback, right?
Yes.
So yeah,
that's right.
that is something which I wanted to showcase and talk about is so this is like a process. Like data visualization is a process. Maybe your first iteration won't be that appealing to everyone. right? Being a developer
Sure.
of that dashboard, you might feel that, okay, so you have justified that visual and it is completely fine. But it is always recommended that you should ask for feedback, and not only
Yes.
just asking but implementing those feedback. Maybe not in your current vid, but in upcoming viz you can implement those feedbacks, and that's how we can improve. That's I have learned by implementing feedbacks. So thank you so much for sharing that thing with us. Cool. And most importantly, I have seen your R Vizzes, and
yes.
I was quite amused to see everything, right? Like, for example, few charts are really very hard to create in Tableau, but
Yes.
in R it comes very handy, right? What's your take
Yes, it does.
in data visualization is? So why don't you just share something about R, and then maybe we can take it forward, something like that.
Sure. Yeah, so on my take, actually, I realized that coding the Viz out is a lot harder than actually doing on Tableau, because there are a lot of other things that they need to do, like for example the math behind which point links to which point, and for example the length of the lines, because you need to calculate that. And for example, there was one that I did which got a lot of attention, was the radial bar charts on the astronaut Viz.
Okay.
But that was very hard to do because the Viz that I got inspiration from was actually a lot more cleaner and a lot more complicated than what I created. And I actually didn't really understand like half of his code, and I'm still actually in the middle of processing it. So yes, I think coding is a lot harder than actually doing on Tableau. Yes.
Okay. And again, it's like a process, right? It's hard, but
yes, it is.
if you dedicate your time and with that interest, then that things will become easy.
That's right.
Yep. So this is about
traumatic brain injuries. Yes. So this was in week 13 of Tidy Tuesday. So if the rest of you do not know, Tidy Tuesday is similar to Makeover Monday, just that you're supposed to code the Viz out instead of using Tableau. So this data was from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention and Veterans Brain Injury Center. And the story that I wanted to look at was actually who are the group of people who are actually suffering from traumatic brain injuries and who are actually civilians. So what I found was actually that children below the age of 4 and elderly above the age of 75 have almost twice the number of cases in unintentional falls. So we all know that old people and young kids are really susceptible to a lot of injuries if they actually fall, and as their bones are not that strong anymore. And also one result of this is that more than 1,000 in 100,000 people in the United States, like the number of elderly suffering from traumatic brain injuries, and that's a lot, because every single human being like falling and like suffering from all these injuries is very dangerous, because especially for elderly people, they might actually pass away because if the injury is too serious. So this was the Viz that I actually created. So after I created the Viz, I went back to look at it. I realized there were some things that I wanted to change. For example, the colors. So like what I said for the serial Viz, even though there are a lot of categorical variables, you don't really need to color every single variable. So like for me, for this Viz, since I was focusing on children and like elderly, this message would be clearer if I only highlighted those two like categories. And then lastly, for the text, it was a bit long because I was trying to explain my insight. So I'm not sure how readers would take it because it's a bit lengthy, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yep. Please.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, especially your first line talks about children's below age 4, and so that's where you wanted to focus, like especially with the children's, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Those two things.
Like those two circles. That's why.
So like 0 to 4 and 75 plus, and that's where we can clearly see kind of brain injuries behavior, like it is too much in case of when age group is 0 to 4 and if it is 75 plus, and those
That's right.
numbers are really serious numbers, like those numbers which you're talking
More
about,
than
right?
1,000. That's
Exactly.
right.
That's really too much. Yep. Thank you for sharing.
Yes. So taking like feedback from this and the feedback that I kind of gave myself, I went to create another Viz on a different data set. And this time I actually focused on the colors instead. And I made the text a lot shorter. So, and also from the previous one, the title was actually just studying traumatic brain injuries, which is just the context and the topic. So I wanted to engage readers more by asking them who do they think the best hip hop artist of all time is. So based on this face, you can see, okay, Notorious B.I.G., Public Enemy, Mob Depp. And then I wanted to show one more insight, which was how the top 5 hip hop artists were from a generation before the 2000s. So does this mean that the artists in our generation are not as good? Because as you can see from the highlighted 5, there's actually no one who actually comes close to their ratings. So that was what I was trying to put across in this visualization. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is kind of like what is that? So in very left hand side, so
It's
is it
like
bar,
a heat map kind of.
heat map kind of thing, right? Okay.
Yes.
I have seen couple of Vizzes, something similar to this, but it was more of a we can do something like this in Tableau as well. So
yeah, that's
it
right.
was interesting to see that you have achieved this by using Tableau. So what I really loved about this is you have minimum colors are there. So few colors, and again the things which you wanted to highlight, like the top 5 hip hop artists, so you have just highlighted it by using some yellow color, and that's something awesome, and that's the beauty of this entire data visualization.
That's right. So the next Viz would be a time series data on Broadway musicals. So this time I was trying to look at seasonality within the months, but I removed the records for 2020 because it only contained data up to April, so it wouldn't be fair for the rest of the months. So as you can see from the Viz, even though this kind of chart might be hard to read, but you can definitely tell that there's seasonality during January and March. As you can see from how the average of the box office gross of Broadway musicals are. So actually this chart is quite similar to histograms, just that they have colors and they look, I guess, more prettier in a sense. So one thing that I wanted to improve from this Viz was actually I could have explained more about box office gross of Broadway musicals, because if people might not understand what box office gross might mean. So in this Viz, it actually meant advertising, how much seats were taken up or how much seats weren't taken up, and also how much marketing actually went into them, and then they get that gross number of how much money they earned from Broadway musicals. Okay. So yes, this is another Viz I wanted to share.
This is awesome. What is the chart name? What do we call it?
It's a very good question. I don't remember, but it's a density plot. It's a density plot.
Density
kind of thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And I have seen in all your slides which you have shown, so it was coming from like Tidy Tuesday thing, right?
Yes.
This is awesome. So thank you so much for sharing this R Vizzes with us.
Okay, I think I'll just go to the last one then. Okay, the last one is a lot more technical, in the sense that I actually took really long for this Viz because there were so many terminologies that I couldn't understand, and I don't think I ever will. But some basic layman understanding would be, for example, the volcanic explosivity index, which is VEI. So as the number goes higher, the explosion radius is a lot bigger and more intense. Okay. So what I wanted to see was which volcanoes would threaten the most number of human lives if it erupts. And because of the wall of text, it might feel a bit, the readers might feel a bit, it might put readers off because there's too much text to read. And also, but also I had to explain every single detail because people might not know volcanoes and in general. And speaking about context, there was a recent Makeover Monday Viz on cricket. So that Viz also took a lot of time to research on because I've never played cricket before, and I'm quite sure I think a lot of people have never played cricket before too. And I had to explain, like, okay, for example, what does averages do? What does dismissals do? Before they can actually understand how the chart gives them the information that they actually need. So for this, it's quite simple once you understand what VEI means and how exponentially stronger the volcanic eruption becomes. So we can see from this Viz, Rijani is definitely the one that everyone should be afraid of if it ever erupts. And for color-wise, I decided to put in the colors because I wanted to show one more insight, which was how stratovolcanoes are actually the strongest type of volcanoes, as you can see from how much human lives that they actually impact if they actually erupt. So yes, this is the last outings that I wanted to share.
This is awesome, man. So so I would also consider this particular Viz as a kind of, like, maybe alternative to bar chart, right?
Yes,
Because,
that's right.
So even we can so if someone don't want to use bar chart and he wanted to see something like kind of alternative to bar charts, so maybe they can try this kind of thing, this kind of chart. So again, we can clearly see pattern, dimensions are there on one axis, and again that population within 100 meters, 100 kilometers, again that is something which we can see clearly from this weeds. Again, thank you so much for sharing. This is awesome. All Vizzes which you have shown today was really awesome, and considering that you have your college assignments, you have college projects, and you have taken this extra time, extra effort, extra determination to put everything in together. If you have to give any 3 tips in terms of data visualization, right? What would be those 3 tips which you would like to give?
I guess the first thing would be just share whatever visualization that you have made on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I think that really helps. Like, the fear of putting something online because the Viz might not be good enough is motivation for you to create something even better than next time around. At least that's how I see it. And there have been quite a few people who have been tagging me on LinkedIn to actually see their Vizzes or like give feedback. So I think for visualization is a sort of an art, and you have to find your own style. And getting feedback on like small things matters. Like, for example, I wouldn't have known if like the colors were too much for example the serial Viz, and adding the interactivity would help a lot. I would have known that if I didn't post and get feedback. And then the second advice would be, because you're on social media and there are people on social media, there are people who actually also share their amazing Vizzes, and it might be a bit scary when you look at theirs and then you compare it with yours. Then you're like, oh, why should I post when mine looks like this? Yes, like I get that sometimes too. So like there was a recent Viz on 5 years of running by Thomas Gaspar, if I'm not wrong. It's an amazing Viz. Like, I don't know, y'all should check out the Viz. It recently got Viz of the Day recently.
Yep.
Yes, Viz of the Day. You should check that out. It's an amazing visualization. So what I want to say is that don't compare your starting point to somebody's 2 to 3 years journey, because wherever you are at now isn't the same as what somebody else is. Maybe he has already done it for the past 10 years, but you just started today. You cannot compare. So just stay in your lane and just learn. And the last tip will be just to enjoy the process. As long as you learn something new every day, it's a win. that's what daily coding is all about.
Wow.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Especially like all 3 points which you mentioned are really valuable, and not only just student, even who is working in industry and wanted to enhance their skill, they should start basically looking at this way.
Right.
Yeah, especially it happens, right? I know few of my friends, or they are completely new to data visualization. They were like, I people are doing very wow thing into this platform, this data visualization. It could be Power BI, it could be Tableau, and my work is really not of that level, so I won't be posting anything on LinkedIn. I was like, just go ahead and post it. That's how you learn. You will get feedback from there itself. People will like it, people will comment on it, they will criticize it, maybe they will appreciate it, right? But just go ahead and post it on such platforms that will build your social media credibility. So thank you so much. This entire conversation was really helpful, really insightful, and definitely the tips which you have given to us are really worth. And we are looking forward to do something similar to that, maybe not on daily basis, but something like on weekly basis or something like that. I will try to do something like that from my side as well. So it will be good learning for me as well. Thank you so much for joining. This was really awesome. I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Cool.